welcome back to Kickback. My name is Ben Strasser, and Kickback is presented by CMHA, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk, and I'm now joined by my friend Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me here at Up Yoga and Wellness.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan, you have been with us on this Kickback journey since the very beginning when we were live on Rogers and we were fresh-faced, and it was a 12-hour marathon, and it was kind of get in, share your story, what you're navigating in life and how you're showing up, and then how that's changed over the last bunch of years. And I just remember you, at that point, I remember you were shooting videos in your car.
Yeah. So at that point in my experience, so this all started with my own recovery, right? My own experience with mental health. And so essentially I ended up working professionally in the field, ended up working in addictions and mental health where I still live today. But at some point there was this, this passion, this desire to share what my experience actually was. And that kind of all came from, the struggle that I went through, especially those last few years of my addiction and my mental health. And so one of the biggest skills, or one of the biggest things that really served me in my life, was transparency and vulnerability, right? This idea of almost shifting what it means to be strong, like what it means to be cool, what it means to be a good person. And that was really crucial for me, was just sharing that. And the funny thing is, and how I ended up in the field was, it was almost like people just come out of the woodwork, just dying to share their experience and share their story with someone who's willing to listen.
Right, and what was the reason that you shot that first video in the car?
Oh man, it was just like a spontaneous experience in the moment, right? And the reaction that I got from everybody, I think that was before. It's such a common thing now where so many people are, sharing their experience, coaching, supporting people personally through their own lived experience. And it was just something I wanted to connect with people on and really let people know, like, hey, this is what I go through. This is how I live my life today. I was probably, if that was like 7-8 years ago, so I'll be 16 years sober on the 14th of this month. So I want to say that was almost like 6 or 7 years into my recovery. And so I was already living that, right? I was already living this on a regular basis where I worked in the field professionally. The people that I interacted with, it was very like genuine interactions. And I just wanted to push past the this idea of like, everybody needs to have it together all the time and we're all good, and the presentation of social media, and share something real. And it, luckily it had an impact. Some of those videos and certainly got me doing a lot of different things like this, right? And running a business on the side there for a while. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and I think that what you were able to do by shooting those videos and being vulnerable is you were able to, you gave permission to the others that were struggling and navigating similar things that you, and maybe not even just the sobriety piece, but just mental health in general, right? And I know that you had constant people messaging you and reaching out to you for help.
Yeah, so my experience when I was younger, I had a great childhood growing up, awesome life, played a lot of hockey, sports, skateboarding, things like that, had a lot of friends, was quite comfortable with who I was, my education, all that kind of stuff. And when I was 14, 15, really got into substance use, right? I started drinking, using drugs, having a lot of fun, which had a huge impact on my mental health. Started to experience really, really bad anxiety and panic attacks. And I kept that to myself because there was this constant need and desire to fit in and be cool, have a girlfriend, have money, have nice clothes, all that kind of stuff. So it was like this constant performance and stress and pressure. And I didn't have the avenue to share that, or at least I didn't think it was okay and cool to do that. Funny enough, I went and saw doctors, things like that, but a lot of times nowadays what I get, right? Right after this, I have a gentleman who's gonna call me. I don't know what he's going through, but people will see me, people will hear me share things, or they'll get this experience through word of mouth that it's like, here's just another human you can talk to about whether that's your mental health, your substance use. The funny thing is I could talk to anybody, right? I could sit with any human and say, what do you want? And really define that, and then, okay, well, what is your experience right now? And you come to find that everybody experiences these things. So it's created the opportunity for someone to be able to pick up a phone or grab a coffee and just say, hey, my name's Ben, this is what I'm going through. I saw some of your videos. And a lot of times that's just the start of it. I think when you demystify, or maybe that's not the right word, if you deconstruct this idea that there's something wrong with you because you have a mental health issue, right? And that can mean many, many different things in 2026. Almost said 2025. That can mean many, many different things. But if we like deconstruct this idea that it's a problem for me to have a panic disorder or anxiety or whatever, then now when I'm experiencing the anxiety, it doesn't have to be this like altering experience, right? Where I feel anxiety, I feel panic, whatever, but I have tools to be able to sit with that, be okay with that. And I'm never getting to the point where it feels like I'm out of control or hopeless in that sense. And I think that really starts with just talking, right? Like just saying, hey, you know, I'm Ryan, I have anxiety, really bad panic attacks. I'm consumed with what you think of me, which is crazy, you know, and suggests that, you know, you're thinking of me as often as I would like. And it just kind of broke some of those barriers down for people to say, like, even with substance use, so I drink or I use drugs, but this is why, right? Like you take that away and the problem is what I experience underneath.
Really removing the shame involved with it.
Yeah, and the great thing about being vulnerable, Ben, is like everybody, like I said, people are dying to tell me things. Like you go see, let's say I go and see someone's son, right? Maybe, you know, like I see an adult, 18, 19-year-old son, and I talk to him and support him with whatever. The parents, after even being a part of that conversation or witnessing a conversation, potentially say, hey, can I ask you a couple questions? Right? Like when I do family sessions and things like that. Point being is like, if you can get rid of this idea that, you know, you have something with a mental health issue or an addiction, or, you know, like who doesn't have an addiction, right? Shopping, approval, complaining, stress, cell phones. You know, when you can just kind of remove the label of like, okay, you're bad, mental health, addiction, whatever, and just say, oh, okay, you experience depression or you experience, you know, some mania or whatever your experiences may be. I think it gives people the opportunity to just like drop the walls and accept themselves a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Right, and I just feel, I know for me personally, since becoming a dad, I dealt with a lot of grief in like the loss of the relationship that I had with my wife before Theo came into the world. And then like when just like all of that, and that really shifted me. And then once I had a friend reach out and say, hey, like this is something that I struggle with, I was like, no way, that's, once I had a name for it, like the grief piece, I was able to then start to operate in a different way. But all that to be said was the moment that I started sharing and being vulnerable with what I was struggling with and navigating through that, what should be like a super positive, great time, it was all the relationships around me really deepened.
Absolutely.
Because you can connect on that, and like you said, like everybody has something.
Yeah, and you bring up a really amazing point there, which is like expectation, right? So being a father and what that looks like and what the expectation is, right? So as the dad of, I was talking to Rachel before I came in and said, before you know it, they're going to be teenagers, right? My oldest is 14 now. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I use the example of like the alarm clock or the monitor goes off in the middle of the night. The automatic reaction to that isn't like, yay, I get to, you know what I mean? I get to see my baby. Yeah. It's very much the opposite, and there's this conditioned shame of what people think, right? And you go, oh man, am I a bad dad? Like, am I a bad person? Am I my wife, Andrea, who you know a little bit, is amazing. I used to ask her this all the time, and she would say to me, fundamentally, the reason you are a good father is because you asked that question, because that guilt and shame exists, right? So I have to recognize the separation between what society suggests. Ben, you should be a great dad. You should be happy. You're married with a couple kids. Everything should be good, but you feel empty, or you feel lost, or you feel, And so in order for me to really, really tap into that experience or understand that experience, I have to share it. I have to understand that this is not a unique experience to me. It's not a unique experience to anybody. And the more we can connect with it, it's like that relationship and that understanding. I think humans, trauma is a huge thing now, right? And really what it comes down to is being seen and respected.
Right.
Like, do you feel like you matter? Do you feel, like you exist and you're seen and respected? And I think when we have those societal pressures of what I'm supposed to be and then I'm performing, I can lose myself in that, right? And lose the whole point of what really matters, which is, Ben being content, being a good father, being a good husband.
Yeah.
And you're always going to go through that. You
Right,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
The funny
definitely.
thing is like these things, insight doesn't equal change, right? Like knowledge and awareness is a very powerful tool. But as humans, we literally are just doing our best with, the conditioned opportunity that we have. And that's what we're running up against constantly is these, the brainwashing and the programming that, nothing's ever good enough. You're always going to be seeking and searching and just kind of looking for the next thing. So if I can share, and fundamentally for me in my recovery has always been the thing, it's just been, at least sitting with another human and sharing what I'm going through and coming to having insights and then changing, like really practicing behaviors to change.
If you could sit in the car again with that person that you were when you first shot that first video, what would you tell your past self that was just, for whatever reason, you had that inspiration to hit record?
Damn.
What would you tell that Ryan?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
So how long ago are we going now? Like 8 years, right? 2017, 2018. If I could go back and tell myself anything, I hate to say this, and maybe this will actually be helpful for the audience. I would be hard on myself. I would look back and I would almost give myself a pep talk or a level of accountability where, one of the things I believe about my humanity, your humanity, Ben, is like, I'm selfish, I'm lazy. When we look at like the think millennial things, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a representation of your character. That's a representation of my biology, of my, the way I'm wired. And so what I would do is I would just go and I would sit with myself and I'd listen to myself and I'd give myself a little pep talk and just say, keep going. Nothing I wouldn't say today because, again, like I said, insight doesn't necessarily equal change, right? The bizarre part about being a human is, I'm either doing well or not doing well based on my behaviors on any given day. So there's like getting my mindset right, there's getting the way that I treat myself right, the way I treat other people right. And then there's that, kind of, I don't want to say age-old question, but almost the integrity piece where I'm left with me, almost the man in the mirror in a sense, where, what am I going to do with this on any given day, right? I'm going to wake up every single day, I'm going to feel tired, lazy, I'm going to want to do things I shouldn't do. I'm going to be selfish. How much can I challenge myself? How much can I, go against the conditioning of just negativity? So I think I'd go back and just give myself a little bit of, probably doing similar to what I was doing in the car at the time. But I wouldn't say anything, maybe say, and this can be off, but like, we're going to win 3 Super Bowls. That's exciting.
Right? That to look forward to.
It's so cliche, but my life is good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would say, like, you're going to struggle, you're going to have a hard time, you're going to go through stuff. We went through a very serious health issue with Cameron. That was really hard. But life always is that, right? And the beauty of the experience that I had, even in, the health of family and things like this, is like, if I go back to that last year of really emptiness, hopelessness, daily entertaining the idea of checking out, right? But choosing to stay because I knew the inevitable pain I would inflict on my family. It's a hopeless, horrible place that I never thought I was going to get out of. The beauty of that experience is like I always have that Like I've you know, I will never lose the feeling of that experience. And so no matter how challenging my life gets or whatever, there's almost an excitement in a way where it's like, all right, let's go. You know what I
What's
mean?
next,
Like,
right?
yeah. I like,
Yeah.
you know, in the same way I said I'd give myself a little bit of a pep talk, I think one of the reasons I do well is there's a desire, there's a passion, there's an excitement for personal growth, as odd as that is, right? It's almost like getting addicted to recovery or change. And yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add or share with the audience? Maybe, actually, how about somebody that is navigating, maybe has decided that they are at that point where they are ready for approaching sobriety? What would you tell that person?
Yeah, so if there is someone out there who's ready and feels like they're at the point where they want to change, right? Whether that's sobriety, mental health, you know, an addiction, a behavior, whatever the case may be, reach out to someone and talk about it. So there's a number of resources, obviously, in Brantford, where, you know, in Paris as well, and all over Ontario that we can connect with. Further beyond that, look at your peers. Look to someone that you can have a conversation with and just say, hey, here's how I'm feeling, what did you do? One of the cool things I've experienced over the years is, like, you might call me in 2024 and we have a 20-minute conversation about recovery and what that might look like for me, what it could look like for you, the resources available, and you actually do something about it in 2026 because of that conversation. So I would say to somebody, you know, whoever it is, somebody close to you, a complete stranger, feel free to look me up, Ryan Kitchen, hit me up on Instagram in my, you know, my messages, and just say, hey, I just want to tell someone what my experience is. The cool thing about professionals is, like, we're bound to confidentiality. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you reach out to a local agency or something like that, you should be able to sit with them and just share what your experience is.
Right. And if that initial share isn't you don't get the reaction that you think that you should have got, which is a helpful listening ear, then just share with the next person.
Share with the next person, and I'll say this, and maybe this will really impact someone. The moment you want to change, you might leave that moment, but you're going to come back to it. So if right now you are a drinker who wants to be sober, you may take an action and you may become sober, you may relapse. What's going to happen is inevitably you're going to end up at that willingness again. So I say to people all the time, like, you cannot escape your spirit. You cannot escape that part of you that wants to be the best dad you can possibly be, no matter how many times you go back. So maybe we can save a little bit of time, right? Like, maybe we can just sit in that emptiness together, that pain and darkness, and have a conversation about it, and then look at, you know, what's a small step, you know, small atomic things you can do to make your life just a little bit better, and that might offer some hope and opportunity for change.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ryan.
No worries,
Appreciate you
brother.
taking the time. Great to see you. We'll be right back after this.